I'm calling this Tuesday, June 9th, Planning Board meeting to order. At this time, would everyone stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to ask for any disqualifications on any of the cases in front of us. Hearing none, we're going to move on to item number 3. We do have a quorum. We have everyone here, so a quorum has been met. And at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. All right, moving on to item number 5. I'm going to entertain a motion. If you've had a chance to look over the minutes from our May 12th meeting, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our May 12th meeting.
I'll make motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Seeing no old business, we're going to move on to the first case in front of us under new business. First case is Planning Board 26-04, Evolve. Request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapters 4, 5, and 10 to add a pool contractor use permissible in the general business, light industrial, and heavy industrial zoning districts with allowance for increased outdoor storage display area. At this time, we'll hear from.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to start out with a little bit of background about how I ended up here. First thing we're going to do is look at the approved site plan that involves business. Spans 2 lots. This was already here. The parking lot was already there. And the applicant constructed this building here, as well as this area here, which is for parking and circulation and storage pool shells. So just a couple of things about particular approval and what the ordinance requires. So if you're in a business zoning district and you have your business needs for outdoor storage, there are rules, ordinance regulations as far as how to do that. One is the size of the outdoor storage is limited to 20% of the buildable area. The buildable area is considered everything in the setback. You take that area of the lot, you take a quarter of that outdoor storage. Particular plan met that requirement when it was. The other important regulation about outdoor storage is the location of it. The ordinance requires that it be either beside or behind the building, and says that it's incorporated into the overall design of the physical structure. Usually that means that it's either directly or the structure itself is the screening. The fence would come right up to the sides of the building and then be either the rest would be either beside or behind that. And there was a fence proposed. It's kind of hard to see at this level, but there's a fence proposed on the approved site plan all the way around here, and then right here there was a fence coming towards the building gate, and then also here on the other side of the building and around. So this site plan met all of those requirements for outdoor storage at the time it was approved. Since then, there has been activity out here in the front. Circuit. There was a crane, storage pool shells, things outside approved outdoor storage area, and I think what it boils down to is that the applicant just doesn't have room to operate within the bounds of what was particular business seems to require bigger, heavy equipment and more area to maneuver in. So he is through this text requesting that the outdoor area allowed for pool contractors in particular to have up to 50% of buildable the lot be storage. And that will bump that out this direction, closer to the street. And so then that required an amendment to the location requirements that it be beside or behind. So it would need to be, to accommodate him, it would need to be larger, also in front or to the road than the principal structure. What else was in? Yeah. So those are the main about the outdoor storage part. He also is requesting a display area. Typically, ordinance displays allow for sales and wholesale items, and those are required to be immediately into the building and not out by the street. There are exceptions to that. One being automobile sales, which are allowed in general business, but require a use permit in order to get approved, and they can have one display pad out by the street. There are some other uses that can have displays, large items, but those are only allowed in the industrial zones, things like fabricated buildings, modular, manufactured homes, that sort of stuff. So that's also a request to have an area out here in front of the fence and the street. And the applicant had submitted some renderings of what that might look like. So those are later on in the presentation, or I may let him show them to you if you want to bring him up for questions, or let him speak after I'm finished. This is the as-built. Maybe I should have put these side by side, but they would have been so small it would have been hard to see. But here's what was actually constructed. So the building, the gravel area for parking, and then there would have been an area here for the pool storage. The fence that was constructed ended up here and not going all the way around. And then there was this part with the gate. I don't think it's there. Is it not there, Jordan, still?
No, sir.
Okay. So there are some differences here. There was some gravel installed here that connects this part, or this entrance, to the area where there has been some circulation and staging activity out by the road. So not exactly installed according to plan, and I think that's what we're here. He's requesting the changes to the ordinance that will solve those issues for him. As you can see here, we're changing the summary use table to add pool contractors in to general business, light industrial, and heavy industrial zoning districts with specific standards. So I'll go through those. Outdoor storage areas shall maintain a 100-foot setback from the front property line and be screened in accordance with section 4.3.3S. That's just the fencing requirements. No more than one pool may be tilted upward for the purpose of display that shall maintain a 50-foot setback from the front property line and shall include landscaping that encompasses the entire base of the pool. Required landscaping shall contain an appropriate combination of shrubs, ground cover, and understory trees as approved by the director. Pool contractor uses may include outdoor storage areas that are exempt from the requirements of section 4.33S1 and section 4.33S2. And those two things are the location requirements for the outdoor storage and the portion that on the size and the portion that talks about it being incorporated into the design of the principal structure. And then the other change is that the outdoor storage areas may occupy up to 50% of the lot's buildable area. instead of the 25 that are currently allowed. Yeah, it's these two here. And similar to contractor services, some of the uses in the ordinance don't have really specific parking demand or parking requirements listed in here, so they go under section 5.1.3E, which is basically allows a lot of flexibility from the applicant and the planning department to determine what an appropriate amount of parking is. So it's just a flexible option. We're also adding in into the examples listed in chapter 10 under industrial services, along with building, heating, and plumbing, electrical contractors. We've added pool contractors in there as well, which is also where contractor services, which is what Evolve is permitted as right now, is contractor services. That's also an industrial use when you look in the ordinance. After doing a lot of delving into the land use plan, the ordinance, and we actually wrote an interpretation about contractor services, it's become apparent that the type of equipment and the amount of vehicular circulation and whatnot that is taking place on the Evolve side is more of an industrial use. If you look at the general business district statement, it says that it's intended to accommodate small to medium-sized commercial, office, personal service, and institutional uses that provide goods and services to county residents and visitors in ways that protect the county's scenic corridors. Light industrial zoning district obviously allows a slightly more intense uses, but still with limited vehicular movement and with some protections for nearby residential uses. The heavy industrial zoning district, which may be more appropriate, allows for extensive exterior vehicular movements and outdoor storage of raw materials and finished products. There are several policies from the Imagine Currituck 24 revision plan that may be relevant to the request. Land use policy 1.3. A lot of these have to do with preserving community character and having compatible uses near each other, considering adverse effects of one development on another. I won't read them all to you, but I'll list them. Policy 1.3, land use goal 2, policy 2.1 and 2.3. 2.3 in particular encourages new industrial uses to locate in existing or planned industrial sites and locate on suitable land with unique locational advantages. Also, land use goal 3 says to support new and existing commercial developments that adhere to quality community appearance and design standards. Economic development goal 1 to support the retention and expansion of existing businesses and promote the development of new businesses. And transportation goal 1 to improve safety, traffic flow, and access and appearance of major highways. Now, these are the text amendment review standards. And for the staff recommendation, staff recommends denial of the proposed text amendment as submitted, which would allow new pool contractor use within the general business zoning district with expanded outdoor storage and display areas and a reduction of outdoor storage standards. The UDO identifies contractor services as an industrial use and permits it within the general business zoning district, despite most industrial use classifications not being permitted in that district. The definition of contractor services describes office-based operations for building, heating, plumbing, or electrical contractors, along with related storage facilities and As structured in the ordinance, this allowance appears to contemplate contractor operations of a limited scale and intensity that are intended to remain compatible with surrounding commercial uses. The proposed pool contractor use with expanded outdoor storage areas and reduction of outdoor storage standards differs in operational characteristics from typical contractor service uses contemplated within the general business zoning district. The requested increase in allowable outdoor storage from 25% to 50% of the buildable area reflects an intensity of use more consistent with industrial service activities. The summary use table indicates that most industrial uses are not permitted within the general business zoning district, suggesting an intent to limit industrial type impacts such as outdoor storage, equipment staging, and increased site circulation in areas intended for commercial development. Allowing a use with expanded outdoor storage and industrial type operational characteristics would not be consistent with this framework. The requested text amendment is not consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan, including land use goals 2 and 3, land use policies 1.3, 2.1, 2.3, and 2.8, and transportation goal 1. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, any questions for staff from the board?
These two lots, were they acquired at the same time, or was one acquired later for expansion, or, I mean, what's the story behind that?
They were acquired at the same time. We purchased them we had done a 3D rendering, which, do I need to come up there, or am I right here?
You probably should so we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, you're good.
Yeah, and just state your name and address for the record too.
It's Jordan Daniker. I'm at 149 Nautical Lane in Currituck, North Carolina. I had a rendering too of the display area. I didn't print it because I assumed it was in the
I have
packet.
it up here. I was gonna wait until they asked you to come up, but I
Gotcha.
can show it now if you'd like.
I bought so we did renderings like this originally when we went to purchase the property because we were operating in Maple. It started as a home business. And obviously we expanded from there and we bought the two lots with the intention that we thought we were going to be able to, use that entire blank lot for storage. But, we did find out that the UDO didn't allow that, right? And we had to amend our plan. And so we've been trying to work off that plan, but I'm sure you're aware there's limited opportunities in Currituck County for light industrial or heavy industrial for businesses to operate. So this is where we settled on for what we could afford, and we tried to go into the industrial park in Currituck, but they're also not recommending pool contractor services in that industrial park over there by the air park as well. So, I mean, when you try to go places and try to make things happen and there's not something that fits in the parameters of what you do, you kind of got to make do with what you can find, so that's how we landed there.
Did you kind of recently grow into this expansion, or just is something that's been happening just recently, or is where you needed this other lot? In other words, business growing, is that why this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, the business is growing. A lot of people don't know, just a little back history. I worked, 15 years with Currituck County Fire and EMS. I did 15 years with the county, and, I had 24 on, 3 days off, 18 on working for the county. So I didn't have an opportunity to grow in the way that we wanted to. When we invested in this property, I took the leap of faith to leave the county. I've been there 15 years, and the business has grown since. I've been there every day pushing. We've got 31 people, 17 Currituck County graduates, high school graduates that we employ with health insurance and 401k, something I'm incredibly proud about going up through the school system here, and that these guys don't have to drive to, Virginia or Elizabeth City or the Outer Banks for high-paying jobs. I mean, our average salaries are, 60 plus. So, I mean, I'm proud of the fact that we have Currituck County high school graduates and the business is expanding, and I'm trying to make it something it's not. I started my first bank account there at State Employees Credit Union when it was a triple wide trailer. Rode by there every day on the bus, smelled the crabs, never thought I'd have anything like this. And, I would argue that every time you go by there, you see progress and you see things that look nice. And what you do see is Currituck County's, kids and their families that attend these T-ball games and, grow up in this education system, having an opportunity to work in a field in this area. So I'm proud of that, and want to keep pushing for that,
I guess this is more to county. So you touched on a little bit of the storage of larger objects, like a vehicle, that actually, with cars out in front as a display. And the only reason I was getting at some of these is that I've seen it many times with a small business is expand, and how do they expand? And somehow they just start busting out because the business came, and then you've got to somehow fit to what is already in place. But there was also something said about like the vehicles or type of equipment used. Is that because it's a crane that they use?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly everything that he has, but dump trucks, crane,
Okay.
larger vehicles. So if you think about what contractor services in the general business zoning district or anywhere in the ordinance is described as offices for pool or for like mechanical trade contractors with associated storage. And I think typically those type businesses have outdoor storage of some items, but they also have pickup trucks and trailers in general as a way for them to get around and get to their job sites and haul things, and not dump trucks and cranes and that sort of thing. So that's really the difference. It's heavy equipment.
Do you actually install these pools as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we do everything from, anything outdoor related, pavilions, pools, outdoor kitchens. We have a showroom there as well and a pool retail store. And so we do have, several dump trucks because we install several heavy equipment. The traffic, going in and out of there is not necessarily a problem at that specific location because of the stoplight. It's actually pretty safe, honestly. We're blessed to have the stoplight there, so that hasn't been an issue. But yeah, we don't exactly fit the bill for general business, but we're trying to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. And you say part of the problem is that you just can't find something, and this would be light industrials where should be classified, correct?
Oh, or heavy, yeah.
Or heavy industrial,
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've tried many things. Everybody at the planning board at the county has been helpful trying to make suggestions. And, it's difficult to interpret the UDO. I think there's a lot of stuff in there that can be challenging to understand completely. So we thought we had a solution. If you actually go down to Grandy across from Gravedigger, there's our signs up there. We bought 31 acres. We thought we were going to basically build a fortress there in the back where nobody could see us and hope for the best. But unfortunately, I didn't do my homework, so it's all me, and it still applies to the same rules. So we've got other plans for that, so it kind of worked out. Not a big deal, but we have tried to make moves to make things happen. It's just, to be honest, to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there's heavy industrial in Moyock behind the crimp plant right there where East Coast Demo is. By the airport, they don't want us back there. There's plenty of vacant lots. I met with Larry Lombardi years ago when Larry was there, and we don't fit the bill for that. So I'm not real sure what to do because that's, would be an ideal location. And then the next heavy industrial spot or light industrial is down at Fox Knoll Park. And I'm not aware of any other industrial.
There's a few more.
Is there?
Yeah. There's the one with Heinz Commerce Drive. It might be all built out though.
Well, if we got to think about it, there's not enough. I don't know how many miles there is, going down here. And I don't mean that to be rudely, but it's just, there's a lot going on in Currituck. There's a lot of, demand and needs. And, I just feel like this is not something unrealistic. I would, if you go by there and you take a look, it looks neat and organized. We've tried to do it. We recently put the fence all the way up. Jenny and Jason helped us with that. We got the fence up. We want to make it look good. I live here too. I don't want to ride by and, it look like crap.
Yeah. Yeah, if you sold T-shirts, you'd be fine. But the pools are kind of big.
Well,
Hard to hide those. But what is it mainly, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, that is where it's in breach of the current zoning? I mean, what are the big parts of that? Is that the dump trucks and the cranes and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's just the overall intensity of what's happening outside the building, combined with the amount, the area that it's taking up, which is more than the ordinance allows in as an accessory.
So if that were just more of the retail show area, it might be acceptable in that area. If their construction part or the vehicles and things needed to go bring it to a job and do the job were in a different area, more of an industrial area. So would it be feasible if it was just a display area for pools? I mean,
You mean the extra room, the extra over
oh, yeah,
over
where he has
25%?
right now, would it suffice, would it be able to fit with the current zoning regulations if it were just displaying pools there? And come and get them and install from the vehicles and things and that type of things would be coming from, just to get them off there and bring them to where they go?
Yeah, I don't know that would fully solve the issue, no,
Okay.
because it's really the use of the crane, which you have to pick it up and put it on the truck. You got to have dump trucks to do the kind of work that they do, the full install.
Yeah.
So I don't know that because you're still bringing them there
Right.
and you're storing the pools.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so pretty much you're saying the equipment use, from what I understand, just literally, because they park a dump truck there and they have a crane there to lift the pools. Because there's another pool place on the south end of the county that just has a chain link fence for the pool shells.
Yeah.
Keeps the crane right on the roadway.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, and so we have to remember that there are businesses in the county that have been permitted under prior ordinances. This is a brand-new business that was permitted under the current UDO, right? So the current UDO reflects the land use plan, the vision, and the current ordinance standards, which is what it was built to, right? And a site plan was approved showing compliance with the outdoor storage portion, right? So these other pool companies, to my knowledge, have been there for decades, a long, long time. So they aren't under the current ordinance. So we are talking about a little bit of a different bear here.
So I want to make sure I understand. You've got, basically, Mr. Danaker wants pool contractors to have a special category.
He actually originally asked for a slightly different. His initial request was 60%, and we tried to tell him that maybe 50% was more palatable on the size of it.
Okay.
He also wrote his application for businesses that deal with large scale. What was it called?
Yeah, well,
Bulk items, large scale items.
Right.
So having a separate thing for anybody who dealt with large items to be able to do the extra storage.
Right.
And so that was the initial request, but we thought it would be maybe a narrower focus if it was just a pool contractor. So we kind of discussed that with him, and this is where we ended up, so that it wouldn't just open up even more of the general business lots and uses to having this amount of storage and
Right.
things like that.
Because the fiberglass pools are, not that they're a new type of thing, but it used to be pool companies you didn't see. You would go in like a GN or a place like that, you would go in and you would just see pictures, and basically it was just a business office. And there was no equipment, that was somewhere separate. So, because basically your issues is your pool, fiberglass pools, that's your inventory that you're storing. And then you have the heavy equipment that's on site that's being used. Did it was ever discussed just to change the zoning of the lot at all from general business to light industrial? Was that ever brought forward?
I don't. I mean, that would be a tough sell to create a new industrial lot right in the middle
at that stoplight.
everything. Yeah, that's something that staff definitely couldn't support.
Okay, I just, you know, that
due
was
to
something
all
there. I
the
just threw
land
that
use
out
plan, and there's so many factors that would go against doing something like that. Of course, it's not our decision ultimately, and everyone has the right to apply for that, but
Right.
I don't think we would advise somebody to go for that.
So basically, what was brought forward was just to put a special category for pool contractors with certain parameters with that. Because I understand, you know, you've got the place, you know, I know you guys are busy. I've seen that parking lot fill up over the last couple of years with more and more cars out there. So I just, yeah, we've certainly got a good, solid business in this county that I think we all can be proud of. I just want to make sure we can work through some of this stuff.
Agreed.
So any more questions for the applicant or for
I have.
staff?
My only question would be your heavy equipment. It's kind of hard on the, you know, I don't have my glasses on, but I'm seeing about 120, 200 feet there. Could the heavy equipment be placed far enough back in a type D buffer, like we do solar farms in front of it, to shield it from the public view? Would that be possibly a solution
So,
to shield the equipment from view? I mean, if that's what we're after, building a fence or planting some spruces may be a solution to that.
well, if you go back to the 3D rendering, I mean, these aren't showing mature right now. But we do have, so this fence we moved up, that's the highway there. And, there's already a buffer along the thrift store side there. So would that be that left side if you were looking straight at the photo? And then that fence is 7 foot tall. So those evergreens that are kind of the anchor points for that pool, right? Those things eventually get 25 feet. You can buy them in B&Bs, which are 8 foot. So we could essentially, you know, get another foot out of that fence by just buying those mature bushes, right? And make that buffer more dense, you know? Going up there. I mean, we park the trucks in the back now as it is. So the only issue is the crane does, we try to fold the boom down, and then the dump trucks are tall, of course, you know, so, I mean, you can't really see anything other than the dump trucks and the crane, so, I'm happy to take evergreens and thicken this and, you know, do what is required to create a buffer. I don't want it to just look like a wall, because I don't think that it's bland, right? That's not how we are. We live to create, right? So we want it to look nice as well. So that's why there's layers there.
Could I make a comment, please? I would like to propose that the request that's been presented as such get our every support for the following reasons. One, what appears down there is, in my mind, a very acceptable appearance of a up-and-coming successful business. If you look at the rendering here, I mean, this looks amazing. Compare it to what's next door, a place where they sell beat-up furniture, with all respect to neighbouring business owners. So this is not detracting from anything in any way. I think it would be excellent to see this in place. Second thing I'd like to mention is that I think you'll find it hard to find any other business, or very few businesses in Currituck County, that goes after employing local folks here and encouraging local people, new graduates and so on, to earn their living while they live in Currituck. And the third thing is, I was going to mention, is that by its very nature, a swimming pool is not a small item, as we can appreciate. Different from an auto parts store, you can't imagine that a pack of 4 spark plugs laid out to the roadside. This is how big swimming pools are. And you've got to have them set somewhere so that people can see them. And if it means that people can stop and buy one or consider buying one, then more power to them. It's going to provide employment for not this gentleman, but all the folks he employs within the county. So I think it deserves, as such, our solid support.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, sir.
It does create a little bit of a situation. I was kidding about the T-shirt, but I wasn't really kidding about the T-shirt. Obviously, you could sell T-shirts pretty easily, but a pool is a different object there. The interesting thing about it is that it's whether the family's going out and buying T-shirts or whether the family's buying a pool, you know, because this is sufficing to new residents and new homeowners. This isn't like we're selling I-beams and forklifts or things of that nature. I think it does kind of cater towards the new buildings and houses and residences. And I've seen a strong need for this product, especially where I live down by the ocean. It's there is a big requirement for it. And I kind of go on what somebody else said about the buffer, and if there was a way to meet in the middle on this thing and say, okay, well, I hear you guys are saying 50%, but maybe 50% and the buffer also hides the inventory, which would be laying flat, which wouldn't be seen behind the 7-foot wall or shrubs, and that yet another buffer, or maybe the buffer has to change so that you don't see the industrial part of it, the dump trucks, the different things of that nature, if there's a way to hide it so that this progress of going, grabbing the pool and moving it on out, they're not using their dump trucks there. The dump trucks are part of the install, as probably so much of their equipment. Probably the only thing you're using on site is the crane.
That's correct.
And so the rest of it's all just sitting there static until a pool is sold. And in which case the dump trucks have to move out and some of that other equipment, the skid loaders, things of that nature. So it's not like these things are all moving around. It's just one thing. And I'm not sure that you couldn't even make it look more graceful instead of having a crane there with having an I-beam lift where the vehicle pulls under and the thing drops down to a low profile or a trailer. So, I mean, I thought there was a couple points said that it's tough because you can potentially open the door for other things. So it's but yet you don't want to open the door for somebody selling I-beams and sheet metal out of a zoning in this area. But at the same token, you don't want to close the door on somebody could probably really scale this thing back and make it look presentable. And thank you, by the way, for your service.
Oh, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. I miss it every day.
That's just my opinion. So I feel like I wish there could have been more that found some, and I'm not saying it's one side or the other. It's just, I feel like maybe we just didn't get far enough to see where the happy middle ground is on this thing. I don't know to the depth you guys know. I don't, you know that. So there's a lot of things you're looking at when you're looking at this, potentially opening the door for things that are not attractive and can't be as easily accommodated with buffering and good looks of making the
To be an industrial, more
Yes,
industrial.
right.
That's-
So it's a complex situation for sure.
I'd add one more point to what I said was that one of the things we've discussed is, well, why don't we just change the zoning or apply for a zoning that would allow it? From a little bit of experience, there's one thing that can pack this place to the ceiling, and it's people being asked to consider a zoning change. If you want to see all out fights and so on going on, ask for a zoning change. You'll see it. And so I don't think we ought to impose that on a gentleman who's up and got a good business running and so on, and then you throw him to the wolves. I don't think that's fair.
Well, and I think one thing to note with this type of operation, the crane, the trucks and all that, those are not working on that site. You were taking that equipment somewhere else. So when we think heavy industry, we think of a manufacturing plant, big heavy equipment, concrete plants where things are actually happening on that site. It's industrial in nature. In this case, it's a little odd because what's going on that site is not necessarily industrial in nature. What's being done is at the site that you're going to where the equipment's being used. Mm-hmm. It's more or less a storage place for the crane and for the dump trucks and for your inventory. So that, there's a little nuance difference there between what I see as heavy industrial or even light industrial and what you guys do. You're still really a retail establishment. When all is said and done.
Think, in fairness, we none of the heavy equipment works there other than the crane. To be fair, the crane does offload
Lifts
and onload pools. I don't want
lifts
people
and
to
moves.
try to act like it does, or I'm telling a story in that regard. So yes, inventory comes in, we unload the inventory. In fact, we just went through a huge OSHA compliance thing. We did all this training, and they actually stated that our crane, because it's only used to unload product on our yard, we don't have to have like a true certified crane operator. They don't even categorize it as that because we're not using it for operational purposes, just offloading and onloading.
It's not really a
It meets
piece of
a different requirement.
manufacturing equipment
Right,
per
so-
se. It's really just
But
a piece of equipment that moves things.
Yeah, but we do, we do operate the crane there, in all fairness. If you sit at 7-Eleven some mornings, you can have quite a show, all right? And I don't want that to be misconstrued because I believe in telling the truth, right? And, but yeah, none of the other equipment, in fact, if it's sitting there, it's not a good thing. We want it on job sites.
Yeah, I've seen it on job sites too, so it moves quite a bit. The crane does.
We
What is
stay
the typical
busy.
boom height of the crane when you're offloading? What's the typical boom height?
It is 80 foot,
80
but
foot.
we don't leave it retracted there, and it takes no more than an hour.
What do you use all 80 feet?
Yes, sir.
You do?
Because we have
Okay.
to flip the pools. They come in upside down, and we must write them to get them. So the process of flipping them, because they're 15 foot wide, it just requires the boom length and everything. So there are periods where the crane is fully extended. It doesn't happen every week. I take that back. It happens about once a week. Yes, because we typically put in a pool every 4 days.
What
So
is the
we go
stow
through a
height?
lot of pools there.
What's the stow height of the crane?
Oh, maybe 13.9,
Okay.
13 foot.
When everything's put away, you're looking at 13, 14 feet.
Yeah, sometimes it gets left parked there. We could do a little better job if the county wanted us to and park it in a little more. I think the buffer is eventually going to grow up. I don't have any problems amending this buffer. That's what we do, right? So this is a very easy task for us to make things look pretty,
What is your capacity right now if you were to be able to use both these lots to full capacity? What would that be?
Well, in an ideal world, we would like to, put a laydown yard at the property we bought down there, whether that happens in 5 years or whatever the case. But right now, we're doing about 60 pools a year.
60 pools a year? Okay.
Well, yeah, we put in a pool about every 4 days, and then we have everything going around it. So, there's a lot going on. There's 7 crews, going out every day.
So it really is, as you were saying, it's a breakout facility. It's retail, but it's a breakout facility to go.
Right, there's
Right.
there's no fabrication going on there. No industrial fabrication going on there, no real manufacturing. Just simply
All loading and offloading
yeah.
and storage.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest thing when I've originally, and they helped me with the text amendment, is if you sell widgets or boxes, right? Well, what size boxes? Well, it's only a percentage. What if you sell really big boxes? Retail stores sell all things, but if you sell big items, it's almost like you're penalized. You have a percentage of your area that's buildable, but what if your items are really big? If I sell big balloons, I know it's far fetched. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying that, there are people that sell postcards and they got a lot of room. Well, I sell fiberglass pools. Yeah, they're big items by nature. Our items don't move around the yard. They sit there. They're stacked neatly. And I've had the commissioners come out and look at it and try to get help with that. So, and we're committed to keeping it neat. We want to.
Is automotive considered, does that have to be industrial?
You mean like a mechanic shop?
No, like somebody selling cars.
No, but it requires a special use permit in general business. And I would also like to add that, just to remind the board that storage of heavy equipment, which is defined as 12,000 or more pounds, is an industrial use.
It is,
So
just
the fact
storage.
that he's not actually using them there doesn't completely address everything.
Okay.
12,000 pounds.
That's not much.
My F-350 is almost that much.
That's not much, unfortunately. I got a question for you, Jordan. How long have you been there now?
2.5 years coming up on two.
Been there 2.5 years. All right, so a couple things y'all have talked about. I want to agree with Mr. Ennis. I want to put that out there that I think what you said is spot on, and I'd like to add to it. So in the 2.5 years that it's been there, I thought it had actually been a little longer. Before the fence, even with the crane up, I've been by there when you left the crane up before. Grew up here, seen it, worked in the county myself for over 20 some years. It's never been unneat. I've never seen it create like a dust or a nuisance, a smell. You brought up the crab house. Ride by on a weekend when they're steaming crabs and let me know how it smells. Right? I've done that ever since the crab house has been there my entire life.
Right.
You know, I understand it is a complicated thing with the storage and everything as well, but I think it's something that we should definitely try to support or find a way for. Because, and the 12,000 pound thing, thank y'all for telling us that. We aren't the professionals at the UDO. Y'all are, and it is a lot to take in and a lot to understand and apply all the time. But 12,000 pounds isn't much. And and I understand. Thank you, Ms. Turner, for explaining the old UDO stuff as well. But when you drive throughout the county, as much as someone like myself has working in the county, or if you commute to work on a daily basis, for all those that live in the county that commute in Virginia, I don't think you'll see a much neater place the way they've kept it. It's never unkept. Whether they're grandfathered or not, there's way more eyesores in the county that have more than 12,000 pounds parked on the side of the road. Now they're grandfathered, other old UDO stuff, so I understand that. But I think it's a positive thing, and I want to second everything Mr. Ennis said. And
What-
add to it.
Yeah. What percentage of your business is Currituck County? Just off the top of your head. I don't need.
It varies, but I would say 70 because of Corolla.
Okay.
You know, we go to Corolla. I mean, we pull a lot of permits in this county.
You guys charge sales tax on that stuff when you do we get
Yeah,
some
I
tax
mean,
revenue from?
Well, it's a capital improvement typically. So the sales tax if they buy hot tubs and swim spas, but when they make a investment in their home now,
The assessment
the tax,
goes up.
yes,
Yeah. Big
so,
time, yeah.
And our jobs, a lot of people probably wouldn't believe this, but our jobs average 100 to 500,000 for a pool. So there's $8 million, a little over $8 million in revenue going out of that location right now.
Yeah.
And so that's 65 to 70%. If they get a reassessment on their taxes, they've made these improvements. I mean, they come out and take pictures. When they put these pools in, we've seen them out there several times in the county. Especially in Corolla. I mean, it's a huge capital improvement.
Yeah.
Don't you don't go all the way in the four-wheel drive area? Don't you use another contractor to bring it into the four-wheel drive?
I'll do anything for cash.
Is that right? You
Yes,
actually
sir.
do go into the four-wheel drive area?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We don't go in there often. We do go there, but there's a gentleman up there that has a foothold, and he does very well there. So
Yeah.
we do get requests to go there. But we work in Moyock. Honestly, we've done a ton of locals' houses. I've had a good rapport in this community. I worked here, fire and EMS, 15 years. I gave to this county. I begged to stay, to go 1 24-hour shift on. I love, being, an EMS here. I love this county. I went to Central Elementary School. I went to middle school here, high school. That's all I really know, and I just, I'm just looking for a little support. I feel like what we're doing is a good thing, and I appreciate all the kind comments. It means a lot, so.
Okay. Any more questions for staff or the applicant?
How far off the road are these vehicles parked?
Well, the heavy industrial vehicles are towards the back, like it's dump trucks. We have 3 dump trucks, a semi with like a low boy, and we do have machines there on occasion, but again, our machines, they need to be on jobs. If they're coming there, they're fueling up and they're leaving. It's not a good thing if the machines are there. So it's mainly, but to be completely honest with you, if you take an average F-350 that's loaded down with tools, almost every one of our trucks are F-350 or bigger. Most of them are F-450s, F-550s. So they're about every one of them, honestly,
Yeah.
doesn't meet the setback. So, we park them in the back. I would say like in that gravel area, that's where the majority of them are. But I'm open to configuring it any way possible. I think I would encourage anybody to go look at the work we put out, I should have brought some images, but we don't do nasty. We don't do dirty. We take care of our stuff. We take pride, and we want to do the same thing with our facility. And honestly, we want it to be an example of what it should look like. Whether it is a business that does pools or whether it's a business that sells T-shirts. If you go right up to our retail store right now, you're going to notice the beds are all lined with annual flowers, straight hedges, clean things. I just don't roll, we keep it tight.
I do have a question for staff. Is there a height limit on the fences or,
Height requirement,
right,
do you have that?
on how high they can go or
You,
how?
you mean, is there one that's?
A maximum height
is 10
requirement?
feet, I think.
Okay, that's one of the maximum, yeah.
Or it could be 8, depending on what zoning
It
district you're
was,
in.
I believe it was 8 when we looked at it, but we did 7. We're having a heck of a time with a 7-foot fence out there. You can imagine coming across the wind, coming across that
Oh, yeah.
field. I mean, that thing shakes like mermaids used to down the county.
Thank you.
I mean, we have panels blow out all the time. We put them in at 7 feet. I mean, I would be open to that, certainly, but I would ask that if we want to do more height, I increase the planting buffer because it's just not gonna, I'm picking up panels every windstorm we get. I mean, they come out easy, we screwed them, whatever, it'll blow them right out.
The better buffer is vegetation anyways.
Yeah.
Taller vegetation.
Yep.
Hollywood junipers would look a lot better.
Yeah, Hollywood junipers, radicans, cryptomeria, whatever we want to do, I mean, I can make it look nice. I can, elaborate more on this rendering.
But going forward, and I think it's fantastic that you've got a business that's doing local employment and opportunities. I think that's just great. But on the side for the county and going forward with changing or doing this amendment, that concerns me. That's my concern for what someone else might want to do. And since we've already got things on the corridor that unfortunately have grandfathered back, and your place may be great, I just think it's a lot of changes to the amendment, to ask for the amendment. This is my opinion. And not just your business, but it could be something else that would be wanting to locate down here. And if we amend this, that is now for a different use, general business, and we expand it, I think it's opening up a lot of other areas for businesses that might not be compatible for some of their neighbors and whatnot. So
It's a rock and a hard spot, isn't it?
it truly is. I mean, I get what he's saying, and I agree with a lot of it, but if we've got to think about going forward and what else might come down the pike, that's my concern. Too many changes to the UDO.
You know what she's saying, you kind of fall between, it's kind of a desirable looking business, but at the same token, you're kind of an anomaly because there's so many that would be undesirable.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Jason and Jenny, they've been, more on it. I thought that was the reason we kind of moved it to be contractor services, so we were isolating it from such a broad spectrum. And is that not the case?
Pool contractors.
Pool contractors, yeah, so like, the people that come, and I don't disagree with you, right? Like, the last thing you want to do is open up a can of worms, right? That's how we got in a lot of these situations. Opportunities, arise every day. And if somebody's willing to come up here and stand in front of you and say, listen, I'm trying to make this community better. I'm trying to make a difference, right? Are we going to look at them every time and say we're going to deny them because they don't fit us, right? No, we've got an opportunity to decide on each one. That was the reason for isolating the pool contractors. So I think there's something to be said about that. I do understand it puts you in a spot where you have to make a decision, but frankly, that's what you're here to do. You're here to make those decisions. And if you can't make them, honestly, you should step down. And I mean that respectfully because that's the position we're in. So I've done the requirements. I've showed up here. I'm asking for a text amendment. And I just feel like if you can't make a decision based on something that we're trying to beautify, then it seems unreasonable for even to have an amendment. That's just the way, I mean, I don't mean that rudely.
Yeah, you're fine.
Have you written up something is there something written up as how you would modify the text amendment language yourself? I mean, versus the way it's currently written? I mean, have you tried looking at how you would write it to fit your business?
Yeah, we submitted that. That was what we submitted. Is that correct, Jason, what we submitted to you for that packet?
Your original application?
I would ask you, Mr. Hurley,
okay.
what do you
Did I
mean?
miss
What
it?
do you mean by that?
Yeah, there was a letter for it.
I mean, the text amendment is to establish a distinct pool contractor use that is permissible in GB with expanded allowance for outdoor storage. And there's also the request for a display pool like you've seen on the image. So that's what it is. So he was permitted as contractor services in GB under the ordinance that was in effect, but the intensity, the scale is bigger than what was originally, and I guess envisioned or what we originally permitted. And I think he would agree that he grew pretty quickly, got busy.
Well, I mean,
quick.
yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. I mean,
right.
part of the reason we grew, one is I took a leap of faith to leave the county, so we had somebody at the ship, 2 more days a week, right? Secondly, I mean, the exposure of the highway. I mean, every single day we have walk-ins coming in there, that are people that are, traveling to Corolla or Dare County or wherever they're going. I mean, they stop in. We got Moyoc, the only high school in Currituck. The people coming from Moyoc, they stop in. I mean, honestly, if I had the opportunity, I'd try to buy the property behind me because I don't know where it'll take me. I'm still a young guy. I got a lot of opportunity here. And so,
You don't have to apologize for growing. That's
Yeah.
expected with the business,
yeah. I mean, but it is the highway, frankly. I mean, that's people see the pools. They stop in there. And, we obviously try to accommodate them, I don't know where it's going to go. I hope it continues to expand. I mean, I don't need it necessarily to expand. I got enough problems and enough headaches. But I do enjoy. I mean, we got a kid that graduated, at Currituck. His father works here for the county, for the water department. I'm not going to say what his name is for protecting. He's an amazing young man. He started with us after high school, and he was thinking about going to the shipyard, and he may still do that, but he loves it with us. He's there every day, and we offer. We're not just a fly-by-night operation. We're offering a future for these guys with benefits and 401k, and I want to continue to build on my people. These are my people. I've lived here my entire life. I'm proud of that, man. I mean,
Well, we're only a stepping stone. You still have to get in front of the commissioner, so no matter what happens today. But you have, you say you have some things that you could actually show, some different slides and things that help.
I've
make
met
your
with
case.
every commissioner, including the one that showed up in Crocs. I've met with every single one of them on my site. Some have been helpful, some have been not. I've been nice, I've been kind, I've done everything. I beg it, I plead. I don't know what I can do. I've met with every single commissioner. Nobody can tell me they can help me. It's just the facts. I mean, it sucks to sit up here and say that, but it's insane. I mean, respectfully, it's crazy that we can't find an opportunity for people to thrive in Currituck. This is what we want to be known for. I mean, respectfully, I know you guys, some of you guys agree, some of you don't, but I met with every commissioner. I met with every planning official. I'll be honest with you, I'm in shock. This is a difficult decision.
Okay. Any more questions, guys, for the applicant or staff?
I do have one more question
Yeah.
for staff. So I understand everything completely. Currently, he's under contractor services, correct?
Yes.
And we were just discussing, he wants to add in pool contractor as a new,
As a new use, separate use, yep.
right? Is there any other thing currently other than contractor services that he could fall under, or is he limited to contractor services due because of the GB of the property?
That's, the only other thing he could do would be multiple principal uses in an industrial zone where he can have as much outdoor storage as he'd like and have the other parts of the business as well.
And a lot of the
So the
problems.
GB
yeah.
is the general business district is,
Yeah.
And for this type of business, because you're in heavy industrial, you're off the road, because again, for all intents and purposes, you're a retailer. You
Heavy
retail.
Industrial generally, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, they normally create dust and I
Yeah,
understand with the weight and everything, by definition.
But he wants people to
EPA.
see him. He wants
That's how he
wants
gets his
people to
sales,
see him.
right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a storefront and signage and all that. So I mean, yeah, it's a unique situation. But
Yeah, I mean, we classify ourselves as retail design build, right? I mean, we do, home improvement, pools, beautification, landscape. I mean, same thing. But yes, we're selling a good and service,
Yeah.
whether it be your service work on the pool or, putting in a pool, right? So they have to be able to see them.
right,
You wouldn't buy a $100,000 car without opening the doors and taking it for a test drive.
That's right. Yeah.
So the big part of this is not the argument with the pool. It's, and really a lot of this fits. It's really the breakout part of this thing. It's like where you're gonna lift it off with a crane. You're going to lift it back on to a piece of equipment to bring it somewhere, which is gonna be followed by F-350s with tools and maybe a trailer with a skid loader or whatever. So it's the breakout piece of this that kind of pushes the threshold of where he is
Yeah,
in the
but-
zoning.
Yeah.
Is that type of breakout capability, with that type of equipment allowed to be used in agricultural?
Agriculture. You mean farming?
Yeah.
Equipment?
I mean, they've got cranes, they've got all kind of lifts and everything like that. I mean, if he had a piece of agricultural equipment, I mean, a property.
It's not an agricultural use,
Yeah, it
so
has to
no.
be, yeah, that would have to be,
Industrial.
No. I'm just trying to think a little bit outside the box. If we were to take the breakout piece away, the offloading, onloading, construction equipment going to
absolutely.
the site.
That, because contractor services is an office type use with associated storage. So the office part, he can have the pool display set up that he's wanting to put in, the one that's in the ground.
He can even store
Near the
pools.
building so they can see what types of things he can do. I mean, all of that stuff fits under what he's already permitted for.
Okay.
It's the circulation and storage of the heavy equipment and the crane and all the
And
associated
that would have to
movement.
be industrial.
That is an industrial use according to the ordinance, yeah. And that's why you get into the land use plan policies that it just doesn't fit with. Because of the protection of compatible uses next door, the appearance of the highway and so on and so forth.
Right, right.
Plus he's growing steadily too, so that's gonna take up more space.
Right, I get it, yeah, I know.
Could I suggest that a happy medium, for what it's worth, the point of contention would seem to be the crane. And you said it comes down to 12 or 13 feet. That's the height of a motorhome. And you see them all over the place, including in people's driveways, and it doesn't necessarily cause a problem. So by way of a happy medium, why could we not consider, suggest you consider just keeping the crane back out of the way, except on public holidays when you fly the national flag for a week on either side of the national holiday?
Yeah, I mean, we can
Yeah, a lot of
certainly
people do it.
stow the crane. I mean, I think the big thing here is, I'm open to suggestions, I mean, and including the property that I bought down the way that, the back is zoned agricultural. I know there's a lot of things here, right? And I know that we don't fit the criteria. I'm open to suggestions, whether it be a larger buffer, whether it be you can load pools in certain hours. I mean, that would be kind of challenging to schedule around, but during the weekends, the crane needs to be stowed in a position in the back corner, Friday through, Sunday, right? Because it's tourism season, right? So we're meeting the objectives. I'm open to suggestions. I feel like there's got to be a way we can make it work.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Mr. Corbell, you're intently reading over there, so.
Just trying to learn.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I apologize if, some of my comments were outlandish or rude. I'm just generally trying to, make this thing happen for a better Currituck.
Okay.
Frustration's understandable.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Jordan? Any more questions for staff? Any discussion between board members? Okay, hearing none.
For staff, if you don't mind, pass or fail, he still goes in front of the commissioners with this, right?
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
so, okay.
All right, I'm going to open the floor for a motion. And keep in mind, if you want to add any additional wording, we can work with staff on that if we want to tweak the motion a little bit.
That's where I'm hung up.
And y'all have your cheat sheet. So any stipulations on buffers or fencing or vegetation or screens They can put that in the motion, correct? We can add that as a stipulation for approval,
Yes.
if that's the case, okay. Just bear with us.
Oh, yeah, no
Takes a
problem. You
while.
want me? Yeah, so I can sit down.
You can sit down if you
Yeah, I
want.
didn't-
That's
yeah,
no
thank you,
problem.
thank you.
Yeah.
Doing a little research, that's all.
I know we closed staff questions, but I was just reading.
Oh, go ahead, yeah, that works.
Can I ask y'all?
Sure.
So with the UDO currently, you're saying that heavy industrial, light industrial would be determined anything over 12,000 pounds, correct? Like
That's
equipment.
That's the threshold for heavy equipment.
For heavy
Storage
equipment.
of that is an
So
industrial
then
use.
any new business from here till the vision plan, or if it's ever, whenever it's revisited by guidelines, any business essentially, so I understand it properly to help me, any business that has any kind of equipment that weighs more than 12,000 pounds, essentially, they need to be in heavy industrial or light industrial is what you're telling me?
New businesses, yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind what's going, they're very specific for pool contractors. So I know everybody's concerned that whatever, if we vote for approval, that it's gonna open the floodgates and then, but keep in mind that what he's brought forward is just for pool contractors
Right,
and very specific to that. I just don't wanna get lost in the weeds on that.
yeah.
So just changing that, the pool contractor and adding that without,
Right, that's the case in front of us, is that pool contractors are gonna get a specific type of
Exception.
exception. Well, not even, yeah, just a category with, and again, sometimes the laws get kind of behind industry because 30, 40 years ago, you didn't have, and you can correct me, you didn't have as many fiberglass pools as you do now. A lot of them were the paneled pools. And I think that's, in the last 30 years, that's been a major change that I can see because the pools are a lot smaller than they used to be. You can squeeze those in a very
Yeah, I
tight
mean,
spot.
that's really where the industry as a whole, they're up like 18% above every other vinyl liner or concrete.
You
Yeah,
just
I
don't
mean,
see
it's-
them that much anymore, and
that's
it can
pretty
do,
much
you can
where
do
it's
it
going.
quicker too, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's the install time, better product. It is more expensive, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
So I mean, that's where sometimes the laws are behind what's actually going out there in the real world. And I think that's always important to look, that certain things it's like, yeah, the industry has changed, but the regulations are back 25, 30 years. So,
it sounds like you're gonna be outgrowing this piece of property, and it may end up being just a retail and display area. So have you thought down the road in that respect? I mean, you said you had other property, but, and I have a fiberglass pool, so I get where we had to shop and do all that. And of course, that was way before, there were any kind of, I guess, ordinances to weigh in what could be a real mess. But anyway, with what your growth seems to be, this area that, is 25% of the property, you're gonna be outside of that in no time.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. I mean, in an ideal world, to your point, we purchased the property in Grandy, which we're working on something with Timmons Group to subdivide some of that. to which 18 of it will remain GB, but half of it's ag. It has like a delineating line in there. We're still working through that, some of that stuff. We haven't presented it to the county. But yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, we would like to just do it there. We would like the laydown yard for the shells because we can put them way back out of sight, out of mind. And to be completely honest, when this all went down, because I met with all the commissioners, I mean, this has been going on for a little over a year, I believe, something like that, potentially. And I've met with every commissioner. We just said, all right, well, we'll clean this up. Like, it was, how can I accommodate you? Like, we'll put these back behind the woods, and just have a display pool, because we want to put a pool in the ground. Because we said we'll have a retail store there. We have a very nice showroom. I encourage you to check it out. And we were going to put a display pool in the ground, which would suffice, one out front. And then guess what? The crane wouldn't even be at that intersection. It would be back in this woods down in Granny. But we were told that we can't do that, and it's correct information because it's zoned the same thing. It's not like they told us. We just, again, I assumed, wrongfully so. Well, I'll just put this back on the ag section, kind of to your suggestion, Mr. Hurley, I believe it was. I just said, I'll put it back in the ag section because the first front acre was GB. I said, I'm going to have a nice road going back here. I'll put it in the ag section. I'll have all these pools out of sight, out of mind. I'll have my nice retail store. That wouldn't cause us to develop the property, right? We just have to clear some land. And honestly, I would be open to that, but it still sounds like it's going to require, correct me if I'm wrong, an amendment to this pool contractor services because it's the same zoning. There was a suggestion made, which is not a bad suggestion, that we try to get that parcel rezoned as light industrial, but we got to eat in the time being, So
How many acres did you purchase? I've seen your signs up there. There's 3 of them.
Yeah, it's 32 acres
Wow.
right there. And
That's
we've
a
already had, wetlands and dug going, and, Jenny was helpful enough to go through and help us research what we can and cannot do. I mean, none of this, even like I said, even if we decided that you guys said, well, put your pools out of sight, out of mind, it wouldn't matter because essentially just because they can't see it doesn't mean we're not operating illegally, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, because in a perfect world, I would put the display in and move all those shells down there behind the woods, and then we would it's a 10-minute ride. We take people down there, and we say, here's our display pool. If you wanted to see a certain model, we could take you down there.
Yeah.
And we can make the area work that we have, but regardless, we're still needing a text amendment.
So essentially, you would look to keep that place long-term and then just have your other lot for equipment and pool shells.
It's general
Yeah, I
business.
mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think, you brought up a great point. It would just be, in fact, I would argue that if we were able to do that, we would probably put up a nicer retail building on lot 4 that you're looking at here with more of a, showroom long-term. That can't happen over.
Do kitchens and things like that, you said too.
Yes,
Outdoor
ma'am.
kitchens.
Yeah, we have a display in there, kitchen display. I mean, again, if, it's very nice in there. We retrofitted the building. It was terrible when we took it over. It was URR junk or some, I don't know what it was. It's been several things.
Downgraded.
But it was, yellow, painted yellow. I mean, we've cleaned it up. And, I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I hope we continue to grow because, it's opportunity. But we still need the text amendment. And if we do the text amendment and we may decide not to, that text amendment, please correct me if I'm wrong, this could be way outspoken, is if we did that, we could do the same thing now on our parcel in Grandy. We could do the storage if we had a plan. We'd have to have a true site plan, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so we could essentially just move the shells so they're not at that intersection. The shells do encourage people to stop. That's why we're asking for the display.
No, you wouldn't be able to just store the shells on a lot in general business with this text amendment.
We'd have to have a buildable area. We'd have to build a building there.
You'd have to have a principal.
Right,
use,
but we would just move all our trucks and operations. That's what I was kind of getting at. We would build a shop there, and because we're now selling hot tubs and swim spas. I mean, we sold 30 units last year. We never sold a hot tub in our life, because there's a demand, I mean, so yeah, we would only get whatever storage credit would be applicable to the size of the building. Is that fair to say?
The lot.
The lot.
Based on the buildable size of the
Yeah,
lot,
the buildable
right.
side of the lot, excuse me. Yeah, so yeah, in an ideal world, that's what we would do. I mean, when we started this process, we didn't realize, again, that we were going to spend $70,000 on site development for swells. Took up some of our building room. Shame on me. I've never done this before, So yeah, I mean, you raise a good point.
Okay. I got another question for staff. If I look at page 12 and 13, under the proposed pool contractor definition. Now, everything's pretty specific, but when I get to under section 1, pool contractor, when you read required landscaping shall contain an appropriate combination of shrubs, ground cover, and understory trees as approved by the director. So
Yeah.
that's pretty subjective. So that's actually goes to you guys.
Yeah, and
Opposed to like, I've seen a 50-foot something, this, so that's.
yeah, it's
that's
not as
mi-
specific as like the buffer types that spell out exactly how many
All right,
plants. Th-
so-
This came also as a kind of carbon copy of existing ordinance language
Okay.
for freestanding signs. If you put up a new freestanding sign here,
Okay.
it requires
I just wanna
landscaping
be
and
clear on
that's
that.
the same language except, I think
every
we added
ca-
the part
every-
about approval from the director. So,
Okay.
so that gives,
Gives everybody a
it
little
gives us a
leeway.
chance to look at it and
Okay.
decide basically.
Yeah, all right, good. Yeah, the reason I brought that up is because if there's a motion to approve and they want to put certain stipulation on fence height and shrubbery types and things, that's not necessary. I want people to be clear on that.
And as he grows, the staging area, there's, again, I think that there ought to be some sort of basis to say, well, this just is not gonna work because of,
Yeah, and you look at certain things, and not specific to this, because you can't really stack fiberglass pools, but
right.
when you guys say lot coverage, 50%, well, that's flat. If things are stacked, then the lot coverage is gonna be less, just by nature of the fact that you've gone up instead of out. Again, I'm not gonna get lost in the weeds, but that kind of, you could stack things up as opposed to just laying them flat on the ground and get around that.
Yeah, there's also, built into the outdoor storage requirements, there's also height limits
Okay,
for
there you
the
go.
stacking of things and distance from the fence.
Okay, so that's
they can be
already all
stacked.
in. Okay, just wanted to throw that out there.
And also to clarify, I think what you said earlier about, so just to be clear, the display landscaping that you were asking me about just a second ago, that's completely separate than any buffering screening requirements for the outdoor storage. If you wanted to have additional landscaping in addition to the fence that's already required.
Okay.
That's separate.
Right.
So, yeah.
But there's a lot of give and take here on this new pool contractors, with that, with the director actually approving certain things.
Only the display landscaping.
Okay.
So you're saying if there was a motion to approve or whatever to do the extra buffering for like trees or whatever, that would need to
If
be
that,
added?
yeah, if you would like extra buffering, you're gonna have to say that. It's not
Within the
built in.
motion. That's what I was getting at. Okay, I wanted to make sure we were clear on that. And I think when we talked about fencing, 8 feet for opaque fencing,
That's the maximum height, yep,
and then 10 feet
for chain link, security
chain
fence.
link, okay. And-
Which isn't an option here. This requires, the screening of the outdoor storage requires opaque fencing.
Which would be opaque, and
Yeah.
then you were talking about it blowing down all the time with all the wind out here.
Yeah, mine's 7
The higher you
right
go,
now.
the more problems there's gonna be.
The current text amendment that is proposed, is he within that with his fences or outside of that already?
We were not, it's not proposing any change to the fence height.
Okay.
No, I'm talking not the heights, like distances. You've got 50 feet for the setback for the display and 100-foot setback for,
Yeah, we met with him and made sure that those things will actually work. So that he can get the 50% outdoor storage area and still be 100 feet back. And he has room to put his pool display at
I
a
guess
50-foot setback.
my question would be, I know you don't have a full display like you proposed here currently, correct?
I don't have a display right now.
Alright,
No,
so-
there's no pool. They're all behind the fence
But
currently.
with that, would they meet the 100-foot off the property line setback?
Would the pool storage or the display?
the pool storage currently.
Yeah, we can
Because you
do
don't have a display yet, but currently, if I rode by there right now, your pools are 100 foot off the road as well.
I'd have to take a measurement, but yeah, they're pretty close to 100
the most
foot off the
part,
road. Yeah,
correct.
I'd have to take a measurement. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that right off the top of my head.
But they're probably close.
They're probably very close, yes.
Okay.
I don't know that you might be able to see a few of them sticking up. They do stack, to be clear. They nest. We call that nesting when they're the same model.
Okay.
Like those Russian dolls, you know?
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
That's good to know. I didn't think you could, but.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions, guys?
I'm just reading a little bit, and I mean, coming from the other side of the coin there, in the Economic Development Goal 1, support the retention and expansion of existing business and promote development of new business that contribute to local economy. Well, I think we've touched on that. This is a local business seeking to expand operations, improve service capacity, and retain and create jobs within Currituck County. So that's kind of the answer to the argument to that. The economic development policy is supporting small business. The plan encourages small business growth, business expansion, entrepreneurial activity, diversification of local economy. I think this is that point there, diversification, I get hung up in sometimes because we put things in a particular, as best we can, to try and keep things protected and where they should go. But I really feel like something like this falls between the cracks because it just is not the same everyday thing as like an industrial. The land use 3 goal is support commercial development in appropriate locations. They're already zoned a general business, indicating that the commercial activities are anticipated in this area. The proposed use is consistent with intended business character of the district. And I don't know, and my point being here, and I keep going through ones in the Imagine Currituck goals and policies that kind of support this. So this is a very tough one. I haven't seen one like this in a while. It really does fall kind of in the gray area. And I absolutely see both sides, but I can go read this and see that this one, if this were somebody trying to sell steel beams and welders and whatever, heavy industrial equipment, this would be a no-brainer. But because this is catering to the residential business, it's not catering to industrial. It caters to residents, to homeowners. And just happens not be T-shirts, happens to be very big pools, single-piece pools. So this is my problem with it. It's an anomaly.
And I think it is important to represent your product attractively. The aesthetics, in my opinion, are very important along our corridor. And so that concerns me, and that's why I keep thinking about your expansion and the industrial area, industrial being where you're staging and heavy equipment and dump trucks and things like that, would impact that particular area. So my caveat would be, if this were to be approved, to have, if it's possible, to have something that would help in the future to contain what would be non-aesthetic compared to the retail side of it.
Another piece I find which doesn't fit, I don't know if it's old or new or what, but 12,000 pounds for this, I mean, that doesn't even come close to for so much general business. I mean, the trucks that are pulling into general business area are many times that. Your trucks that offload cars and have to take up sometimes side of road space to offload cars because they don't have room in dealership areas or where the car lots are. I think that that's a piece that, and sometimes that comes up. Sometimes we look at things and we say, that just doesn't seem to fit. Maybe it fit years ago, but maybe it doesn't fit now.
What type of equipment weighs
Well, I'm
more
just
than
saying that,
12,000?
I mean, you've got a crane that, yes, it might boom at 80 feet, but now I understand why he's saying he's booming up at 80 feet is because why they're delivering the pools upside down, I don't know, he's got to flip them. But I know mechanically what he's going through. But the thing stows at 13 feet. And so he takes about an hour out of 4 days. So 2 hours, in less than 2 hours in a week, that this crane is extended and doing this. And so, yes, is that an industrial look when it's happening? And sure it is. It absolutely is. But everything else is, when you look at the trucks and trailers and things like that, it's just commonplace across everywhere, agricultural everywhere through our county.
Tractor Supply, I mean, they get loads, 88,000 pounds as a semi. They get loads weekly.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
I
all
know,
the time,
I know.
I mean.
So,
If I may, that's just the deliveries. Those trucks that are not stored there or used for the business, that's just a delivery. We have things in the ordinance that address that. The location of the loading zone is behind the building and screened from residential uses in the back. So that's not a good analogy. We're talking about things that he uses daily on his property in the middle of general
I haven't
business.
seen what it was, so I have no idea what size dump trucks. I heard he's using 350, which are basically a 10,000 to 12,000 pound vehicle, an F-350. So, and it's a pickup truck. I see them all the time across the road. These dump trucks are, what's the height of your dump trucks?
I mean, they're quads, which are like you see pulling out of Currituck sand. I mean, they're big dump, I mean, they're dump trucks. I mean, they're not, I do have some smaller ones, but there's 17 vehicles there, from F-350s to 450s to 550s to the dump trucks.
And then you got the big tandem axle dumps.
We got the quads, and then we
22
do
tons,
have
yeah.
a semi.
Okay.
Yeah, wide load.
All right.
An excavator.
Well, we have excavators, yeah, we have excavators. I mean, those come, I mean, yeah, that's certainly over 12,000 pounds. Those are rarely there, yeah, sure, an excavator, yeah. We have an excavator there occasionally.
And most of you're saying they're rarely there because you're moving from one site to the next site.
Yeah, I mean, we're moving from one site, but the last thing we want to do is not be truthful about what we have. If
No, I
something
get it.
sits there for, an extended period of time, we don't want to feel like we're in violation of, to be fair, I don't want to sugarcoat it. We do have equipment that sits there. I mean, I don't know where we would have this. I mean, there's not, again, a place in Currituck other than, five spots. Let's call 5,
Yeah, yeah. All
I
right.
just,
Okay, guys. Any more questions? They're working on something down there.
You want my notes?
Yeah, they're looking at some of the stuff.
Just as a curiosity question, I guess, how many pools are typically located on site?
about 30.
30.
They rotate in and out, but yeah, I mean, we typically keep six models, 7 models that people choose from, and then they, pick from those models, and then they also have 6 models with, set between 7 colors, right? So, get you there real quick.
How long have you been in this business?
I started 13 years ago.
Okay.
My wife said I worked 24 on for the county, 3 days off, and 18 on. She said I was getting fat, so I had to find a job during the week. Here I am.
And since you've gone full-time, it's grown pretty quick then.
Well, it's grown. I think people just didn't realize. A lot of people drive by there and they say, "Oh, y'all came from nowhere," but
No, you've been
well,
around.
I did. I've been around forever. I mean, I was in Maple Road. I just back in you couldn't find me, so it's not an overnight success. But yeah, it has grown rapidly in the last year and a half. But I mean, we're growing as a county, so I mean, it's not all me, We're popping up houses faster than I can build pools, so I mean, it's a good thing, for me. But there's some challenges.
You certainly understand the county's perspective too, because you've got to work. You are an anomaly that you're retail, but we really can't have in the general business things that look like they're getting ready to put up a factory or something, But so it's a fine balance here, and we don't. As great of a job as Jenny did on putting this thing together, Imagine Currituck, and I know it's a lot of work. It's, it's still got these weird little gray areas that kind of fall in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I do see the county side of it. I'm not, you know, it's just, I don't know where you would go. I mean, I understand that, and I don't know what you guys propose we do, is not have a place. I mean, when the county has an industrial park right here in my backyard, and I go meet with Larry Lombardi and I meet with people in the county and they won't sell me a lot, and you got vacant lots sitting over there, I don't know what to do.
All right.
I know one county that I was with one time, just a quick story on it, was that it was the same problem. And they went and the county did their own industrial area and controlled a lot of that. It actually turned out to be quite a success, where they did help small businesses that crossed over the threshold to get into an industrial complex.
Is that anything that's in the works as far as this industrial, the heavy or light industrial? That would answer, I think, answer his problems in a lot of ways.
Well, there have been conversations about the amount of industrial zoning and if there's enough and where there might be more appropriate places for additional rezonings. But we don't have anything really to show for
the
that yet.
main corridor. That's.
Yeah, there's really not a lot. It's not like you have industry out here that went kaput and you could just, you know, grab their industry and turn it into a controlled industrial area. And that's really what happened. That's what I'm talking about. Is we saw companies that kind of went under, and it was a big empty industrial building and complex area. And it suddenly outfitted 20-plus companies who needed space and needed to be industrial. You know, we just don't have that here.
It takes us down to the airport area, which I think is,
Well, that's usually one, yeah.
that's
Yep.
an ideal area.
It is an ideal area.
All right. I'm going to open the floor again for a motion. These guys are working on something down there.
1 minute.
1 minute? All right. Just bear with us. All right.
That's fine.
You've waited this long. You could.
I got a
5 minutes.
short ride home. It's fine. I'm gonna be here.
He'll just stay in that location, and you can run his business without the eliminating. Correct.
Okay.
He's not going out of business on that.
Well, I mean,
We'll be all right. I mean, that's good. That's good.
do what they want to do with it.
I'll make a motion.
All right. We're going to have a motion on the floor.
I move to approve PB 2604, involved text amendment, because the request is consistent with the general purpose and intent, Unified Development Ordinance, and the Imagine Currituck Vision Plan to insert so I do this correctly, insert the policies at this time, correct?
Yeah.
All right. It would be consistent with land use policy 1.3 is into the aspect of, as is defined, to consider community character and establish visions for the community. Land use goal 2, it carefully consider the design and location of intensive and potentially incompatible land uses to mitigate, keyword mitigate, compatibility issues such as environmental quality, safety, overburdening, local infrastructure, scale, use, design, location, and adverse effects. 2.1, continue to encourage business to coordinate site design with nearby businesses, including shared or connected parking accesses, pedestrian and vehicular movement, and consistent signage. And land use goal, it supports new and existing commercial developments that adhere to quality community appearance and design standards, including landscaping improvements and signs tailored to achieve a unique community character. And economic development goal 1, support the retention and expansion of existing business and promote the development of new businesses, especially those that help diversify the local economy and compatible with the county's natural amenities and environment. And then to add the requirement to establish additional vegetative buffering to include height to reduce visuals of equipment and storage areas along the fencing.
If I may, from just a planning perspective, when we're talking about language that is general, such as a buffer, it would probably be best to reference one of the buffers the ordinance
Okay.
currently has. So in a different presentation, I have pictures of those buffers. So let's take a moment, if you're open to that, and see if we can't get some more surety here. So this is a type A basic buffer. You can see that it's basically just a demarcating buffer, so not really a super opaque buffer.
Grandy, yeah.
There's a type B buffer that's an aesthetic buffer, which creates an intermittent visual obstruction from the ground to a height of at least 20 feet. There's a type C, a semi-opaque buffer that functions as a screen from the ground to at least a height of 6 feet. And then there's a type D buffer, which is more of an opaque screen from the ground to a height of 6 feet. And then there are some notes here in the buffer types section that any required perimeter buffer can be reduced to 5 feet with the provision of a solid masonry wall, and that perimeter buffer widths may be reduced with an alternative landscape plan. But I would just request that we be specific with the buffering. I know we did have the provision about the director approving, but that was just kind of related to the display pool
Okay.
specifically. So that's my comment.
Are you able to see what we're looking at?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you
How
have
would
any
y'all feel
objections
about
to a
B?
type D buffer?
I don't have a D. I mean, I want to make sure I understand that y'all can still put the pool. Is that what we're saying? That it needs a type D buffer to screen all the pool, in and out activity? I'm going to call it that for lack of,
Pretty
sinking.
much everything, your
But then
inventory.
I will still be able to incorporate the display or the signage pool, right, in that type D. Yeah, I have no problem doing this type D. I mean, I encourage it. I think it looks nice. It gives a backdrop, put some lights on it. It looks pretty, and I put the pool out in front. I don't want it to be any more.
All right. Well,
I mean,
I'll
it's-
add that to it then too.
Your buffer, your last comment that you said with the buffering, you would just amend that to a type D
amend that
buffer,
to
or
a type
whichever
D.
letter buffer you thought was
Right.
appropriate.
So
I just
to
think D makes sense, and
to,
it's not like you have to use those plants.
amend
He had
my
it pretty
buffering
nice.
statement
Well,
to
the
a
D would give him
type
visibility
D
on-
buffering.
Right,
Can you say the whole statement again, just so we understand it?
Start from I move to approve.
No, just the the buffering statement.
Okay, and to require to establish additional buffering to include a type D buffering
Okay, and that is between, so on the.
behind the display
Right.
to help reduce the visual of the equipment slash
The storage, so you
Pool
want to screen
storage.
the storage.
Screen
and we
the
want to screen
storage.
that from the front property line and the sides, or just the front?
Just the front.
I would say
say
you
the-
probably use a lesser buffer on the sides, but I don't know. I mean.
I would say on the
I
front.
don't know that property
front.
well enough.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
enough to say.
Well, I got them on the side and the rear based on the site plan.
You have some buffering, yeah.
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
buffer. I'm at the site, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
type D for that road frontage for the arterial area.
For the
that-
frontage.
For the visual arterial.
Okay.
See down the side.
So it'd be pool, type D, fence, equipment, just to be clear. Just making sure I'm understanding.
Correct, that's the way I'm explaining it.
Is the fence still required if you got a type D buffer?
The fence is required.
It is
by-
required, okay.
By the outdoor storage, as an
Okay.
accessory use.
It's there.
Does that make
It's already
sense?
there.
Sure.
Okay, well, the good news, it won't
Yeah.
blow away if you got a type D
Yeah, oh
buffer.
yeah. No, I'm in favor of the type D buffer.
I like it.
Now,
Keeps his-
what buffer did you originally plan down the sides? I mean,
You know,
I just met the requirement from our site plan, which I'll be honest, I don't remember what, I think it was probably a semi-OP.
Let's see.
I think there was one on the south end that it ended up not being required, but it might be a type D on the north side.
okay, are you,
She's going back to it.
is the county still good with the side buffering recommendations?
So my only thing was just making sure that we know and
What
the
buffering
motion
you're
is
talking
clear.
Okay.
So we've made our recommendation and now you're making your recommendation.
Yeah.
I was just gonna generally make a recommendation from a guy that does landscaping every day. I would recommend that you guys return the buffer X amount of feet personally, because that's typically what people do in landscapes is they return the buffer up the side, maybe 50 feet. I'm not trying to sign myself up for more
Yes.
money, but I'm also trying to advocate for it to look cleanly. If you return the buffer down the sides, you've essentially screened it heavily. And then when people are coming within that view on that 45-degree angle, it's screened. So, I mean, that's what I would argue, but again,
That's a good argument.
Yeah.
Great
very good.
argument.
Or the visibility from the driving on the road.
Right.
That would be the
So
type D, go 50 feet.
Type D to extend 50 feet down the sides, and then go to what? At that
C.
point?
Or fencing. Don't you have chain link?
So turn it in
I have
50 feet.
fencing around it, but you're gonna cut off anybody that's driving. You can't rubber, I mean, you're gonna see that screen. I mean, even if you went down to,
That sounds good to me. Do I need to amend that again?
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. I hear a
I
second.
think you should probably say and include the return.
And,
Yeah, return
okay,
to 50
To-
feet, right.
For the buffering to include the 50-foot return on both sides.
Okay.
yeah, one other thing. I just wanna make sure it's clear, cause it's a new thing. The 50-foot starts where the pool is, correct? Or the pool can be in front of the buffer, cause we're saying the buffer is at the 50-foot mark. So if there's a pool in front of it, it doesn't,
So
know,
the buffer,
contradicts the display pool. Does that make sense based on the requirement? I think it does.
I think, let me look.
I wanna
back.
make sure that I'm,
I
Good
believe
question.
what it says is that,
the way that I was saying it was for the buffer to start behind the display.
right,
the display pool has a 50-foot setback according to what we're asking.
yeah.
with your
So the
amendment,
buffer would
right?
essentially could be,
So you gotta keep it, and then your fence is at 100 feet, so you've got, you can start your display at 50 feet from, this is from the front property line. 50 feet from the front property line, you can start your display, and then you've got 50 feet before you hit the fence. So that type D buffer is 25 feet wide.
Hold
So you're gonna, right? You're
Oh.
gonna need 25 feet for the buffer, and you're gonna need, and then that leaves you 25 feet for the pool display in between the setback for it and when you hit the beginning of the type D buffer.
yeah, the only reason I'm bringing that up, just so everybody's looking at this site plan right here, the fence was approved. We put the fence back on that plan, which is closer up.
Here,
So I'd have to move the fence back again, and then it'd be in the swell based on your drainage plan, because you have to have a drainage plan. So then if I put the buffer, it obstructs the drainage,
Right.
right? So essentially, you're in, the stormwater plan is being obstructed by, do you see what I'm saying? Like if I move this
You
back,
may have to amend your plan to, yeah,
or move the fence,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
because you have a 100-foot setback for the storage area anyway. It would
Got
make
it.
more sense if that was lined up with that setback.
yeah, sure, I was just,
Show your photos.
Probably,
I don't know if you can see it. No, the numbers aren't very clear.
probably should have waited until this went through before you put the rest of your fence in. I mean,
Therein is why we.
just being honest. Because now you're gonna have to move it in order to fit all the things that
yeah,
are in the motion that they're making.
yeah, do it twice, make it nice, that's what I always say.
It's in front of the pool storage.
I don't know what to say, I mean,
So you'll have to display
Place,
it.
make it nice.
I'll figure it out, you know what I mean?
Is that like measure twice,
Yeah, that's
cut
what I was
once?
thinking, yeah.
The
Yeah.
50-foot for display, 100-foot for the storage.
Yeah.
Is 100 feet.
Whiteboard and draw this out.
Yeah, there's a buffer already required on that site plan right there.
I had the impression that.
Yeah, well, it was shown on there, but remember when we were like, hey, part of it's not in yet, and you were talking about that drainage swale towards the road that
Yeah,
you were worried about putting plants in, and then I came back and said, don't worry about it, because that wasn't actually a requirement, it was just shown on your site plan for whatever.
I think we ended up like buffering up more on the certain sides too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were getting a shrub count there.
So can I clarify my motion then? As far as like to clarify what the buffering was, that was, you got the 50-foot for the display, then you've got the 100-foot before the storage starts. And then your type D buffering would be in front of that 100-foot storage setback.
There
you go.
Yep.
Just to clarify that.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So what he was saying is you've got you're between your 50-foot setback for your display and your 100-foot beginning of your storage, you've got 50 feet to figure out how and where you want to put your type D buffering
Okay.
And the display.
in the display.
Play is parallel with the
So you would have 50 feet to put a display and a type D buffering.
Yep. That sounds reasonable.
Okay. All right.
You could actually go with more of a aesthetically pleasing lower buffer around your pool, and still as long as you got the D behind it
Right.
and before the fence.
All right. Got a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion passes.
Thank you guys for your opportunity tonight. Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, moving on to new business. Planning Board 26-07 Currituck County, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, chapters 2, 5, and 6 to establish phasing requirements and perimeter landscape buffers for major subdivisions and amend the special use permit findings to evaluate harmony in relation to consistency with the land use plan. This time we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to the board. This is a Board of Commissioners sponsored text amendment. In your agenda packet on page 23, you'll see the memo supporting the text amendment. So the board did discuss major subdivision phasing at one of the recent work sessions and directed staff that this was a priority text amendment that they wanted to see relatively quickly. And then at another work session before that, there was discussion about just generally permitting and the types of special use permits and how that process works. And in that particular work session, there was discussion related to the harmony component that is currently kind of coupled with not injuring the value of adjoining or abutting lands. So that's the current finding, and moving that to land use plan. So it's more consistent with the land use plan than the adjoining, affecting the value of adjoining or abutting lands. Because we know that that provision of the special use permit review standard, and I'll show you here, number 2, requires appraisal, expert testimony through the review process. So the harmony component is more potentially subjective standard that kind of goes more to conformity or conformance with surrounding areas and the land use plan, and seem to fit better in that review standard. So that's the component. Now, with respect to the phasing, there was talk about contingent phasing, where a certain percentage of lots would be sold and permits issued before additional phases would go to record. And they also wanted to include some buffering between residential subdivisions. At a lot of the special use permit hearings regarding subdivisions, that was a theme that kind of came up. Like there was a desire for more buffering. I feel like probably from the board as well as from citizens and neighbors. And so we talked about just providing that as a requirement in the ordinance for new subdivisions. And so here's the text amendment language on 2.4.6. So you can see that change to the special use permit review standards. Then the phasing, the preliminary plat phasing. This proposes that type 2 subdivisions, which we know are subdivisions of more than 20 lots, shall be developed in phases. Each phase shall contain no more than 35% of the total number of proposed lots, or 20 lots, whichever is greater. No more than one phase may be recorded within any 12-month period measured from the recordation date of the previous final plat, and subsequent phases shall not be recorded until building permits have been issued for at least 65% of lots in the prior phase. The preliminary plat shall include the earliest recordation date for each phase. This is in the final plat section of the subdivision process, just referencing that the final plat has to be recorded in accordance with any phasing requirements. This is the landscaping section of the ordinance related to the required perimeter landscaping buffers for residential development. The board didn't specify a particular buffer that would be required. Staff, through discussions, feel like the recommendation is a type B buffer adjacent to existing residential development and residential subdivisions. And we looked at those buffers earlier, and you can see here that this is the type B buffer, which is that intermittent visual obstruction from the ground to a height of at least 20 feet that creates the impression of spatial separation without eliminating visual contact between uses. And then there was this section in Chapter 6, which is subdivision standards. There was already some phasing or timing language, so we adjusted that language to reflect the phasing requirements of the board. Any questions on the amendment language itself?
Any questions for staff?
I have just one, and I've thought about this a little bit. When we talk about phasing, which I think is fantastic, let's say your phasing starts, you're doing something in 3 phases, and your break ground day is, what is this, June 1, or July 1st is your break ground day for phase 1. Well, you don't start. You sit on your property for 3 years or whatever. By now, would they have to restart at phase 1 per year? Or can they just come in and say, well, actually, we're in phase 3, and they just develop the entire phase all at one time?
So the way this is worded, it has to be developed in phases, and only one phase can be recorded within any 12-month period.
Okay.
There is another maybe discussion to have related to the phasing, because this is related to type 2 major subdivisions, which are greater than 20 lots. Potentially the subdivision that may have like 25 lots or something like that, whether that is the right phasing requirement. So maybe just think about, what do you do for those subdivisions that are not double, not larger than maybe 40 lots or 50 lots? Is there a different phasing approach? And it's actually just something we probably should consider.
Could I ask, please, if there were, let's say, 3 phases, and it's being done phase 1, and then we move on, we now qualify to start in phase 2, they need not be contiguous. By that I mean, let's suppose you had a development off Tall Creek Road, like one of these. Here the builder has satisfied his requirements for phase 1, and he has the opportunity to build homes on the water. He doesn't have to go and fill in the space, as it were. He can designate that as being phase 2. Does that make sense?
Right. So which phase has to go to record first? It could be.
It could be designated right at the very at the beginning. That phase 1 is one's up the front. Phase 2 are those away in the distance.
Sure.
Is that permissible?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good question.
Okay. Other questions on the ordinance language? Okay. So these are some land use plan policies that may apply, and these are also found in the agenda packet. Some land use policies about protecting the uniqueness of the county, preserving farmland and open space, and using more compact density requirements for new development that discourage and help prevent urban sprawl. Land use policy 2, to carefully consider the design and location of intensive and potentially incompatible land uses to mitigate compatibility issues. Infrastructure and county services goals 1 and 2, to ensure sufficient provision of services and to continue to provide satisfactory public safety law enforcement and emergency management and response. And then there's a guiding principle. Again, those guiding principles are kind of the overarching themes most of the the goals and policies of the land use plan tie back to a guiding principle. This one is related to coordinated growth, to strategically direct growth towards areas that are accessible to existing or planned transportation networks, water and infrastructure, and compatible with surrounding land uses. And staff does recommend approval because the text amendment is in conformance with the general purpose and intent of the UDO, and it's consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan, including these land use goals and policies and infrastructure and county services goals that I just read. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has at this time.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Yeah, I would like to kind of go over the harmony definition I put together, since we're changing what harmony is no longer really tied to the value of adjoining or abutting lands, but we're going to be more in line with the area in which it's located. So kind of sit down and put some thoughts together on, in the definition ending of the UDO, we have, I think it's definitions of measurements or something along the lines, to actually give harmony some sort of definition in one place. I think it may assist the commission when they are making decisions on what does harmony look like. I mean, it's very subjective. It's very gray. It's a huge brush to paint with. So I just put some thoughts together on some paper that perhaps may be included with this, or something along the lines for them to consider as well as part of this text amendment. So I'll read it.
Do you yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
may as well, yeah.
Okay. I wrote down, harmony was a relationship between proposed development and the surrounding community, whereby the development is consistent with the county's adopted land use plan and future land use map, complements the existing and planned character of adjacent and nearby properties, and does not create an undue adverse impact on infrastructure, public service, environmental resource, or community character. Harmony with the area shall be evaluated based on objective standards to include the North Carolina Natural Heritage Program managed areas and protected lands, our land use compatibility, drainage impacts to adjacent areas and wetlands, home density scale, transportation capacity, public facility capacity, and consistency with other adopted planning policies.
You didn't like harmony being in a gray area?
I really, truly did not.
I think
I like what you wrote.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I'm messing with you.
I know. I've sat as out there with the usual suspects for quite a few years, observing the
Suspects.
yeah, usual suspects. Just observing, the goings on of the quasi judicial process, and more often than not, the witness testimony it's in harmony, and I think, well, you don't even live here.
you
And-
need to take the gray out.
Right. So I'm just attempting to take some of the gray out of it for the commissioners to evaluate and look at. I mean, obviously it can be marked up or whatever, but just my idea on how to help further define harmony is what I'm
This goes in the 2040 Vision Plan glossary?
sure.
All right.
But we're just talking about the UDO presently.
We're talking about the UDO
changing
right
the
now.
UDO,
Yes.
yeah. And
One of the drivers for it also was, there was one that was brought before the commission, and it was turned down because the drainage ponds were how they drain into the wetlands behind it. Could that, if you're releasing a lot of water for whatever reason, the wetlands could cause environmental issues. I'm not that, in depth with it. But we obviously want the water to, dissipate equally. Now, I've had people say, well, since they built X, Y, or Z, now my property floods, and we've got no recourse. We just have to live with it.
And now no harmony.
And there's no harmony there with that. And, the quiet enjoyment of everybody's everybody's stuff, so.
And in an ideal world, those drainage ponds to be maintained, that's a problem unto itself, which is not harmonious to the developments or our
I
county.
think when you look at it, it comes down to mitigation though, because
It does, yeah.
when you develop that something that used to be quote unquote green space, and now you've raised its elevation and have retention ponds, it's gonna affect surrounding neighborhoods and things differently that have been there a long time.
Well, I like the harmony definition.
If I may, I think we need to be careful about defining the term harmony, right?
You like the
Because
green.
harmony is not a term specific to Currituck County necessarily. It has a usual and customary definition already. And I'm okay with, like, I think it's valuable to maybe have a definition of what it means in relation to applying this ordinance to the term. But some of the standards in here are already being evaluated through a special use permit process separately, required separately. For instance, consistency with the land use plan, well, that's part of the standard, right?
Yeah.
Complements the existing and planned character of adjacent and nearby properties. We might argue we need a definition of complements, right? So like how deep down do we need to drill here to make sure that we're not losing the meaning of the word? Does not create undue adverse impacts on infrastructure, public services, environmental resources, or community character. I mean, there are standards of the ordinance related to some of these items. So I wouldn't want to double up all of that review that you're already doing in a process by the definition of harmony, and that when I say harmony or somebody says harmony in a hearing, we're seeing that means all this, right? So that it's just something to think about. I appreciate the thought put into it, and I think that having a definition of harmony is beneficial. But I think it's maybe should be more related to like reasonable compatibility with certain ordinance standards as opposed to so many different standards, and then maybe you get the argument of, well, that particular standard is not in the definition of harmony, so it doesn't apply. It gives the board a little bit more discretion to decide what is harmonious or not. So that would just be like some planning feedback on it.
Wait,
Yeah, I just tried to cover every base. I know some of this is found in other places.
Yeah.
I think the flexibility needs to stay there in some words, though. It's a good point. It's like you can take even words within the definition of harmony that you've used, and
Sure.
you'd have to define them. So, yeah, I agree. All right. Anything else?
Okay. Any more questions for staff? Any discussion? All righty. Hearing none, I'm going to open the floor for a motion.
I move to approve CD 26-07 Currituck County text amendment because the requested text amendment is in conformance with the general purpose and intent of the Unified Development Ordinance and is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the imagined Currituck 2040 Vision Plan, including Land Use Goal 1.4, 1.5, and Land Use Policy 2, and ICS Goals 1 and 2.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Okay, moving on. Item 3 under new business, Planning Board 26-08, Currituck County, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 6, to clarify the allowable use of fire department mobile water supply as it relates to development and clarify water main size requirements. This time we'll hear from staff.
So just a little bit of history about how this came to be. I don't know how long ago it was, but do you remember how long ago the amendment was that allowed mobile water, Crawford to haul?
I think it's around 2020 maybe?
So a few years ago, the ordinance was amended to allow, for development in Crawford to have water hauled to their, development as opposed to providing fire protection themselves. And so this amendment is intended to clarify that that's still an option, but it can't be the only source of fire protection. So it could be supplemental, but not the only source. And this was requested by the board. And on top of that, we're also clarifying some items about the size of water mains and how that relates to the installation of fire hydrants. This first part here in the water supply standards section, it takes out the sentence that said, in no instance shall a water main serving a fire hydrant be less than 8 inches in diameter. So that was in the ordinance. So when people came in to do a development, we're saying, okay, all your water lines that you're putting in have to be 8 inches minimum. And we ran into situations where the water line that they were going to be extending was only 6 inches. And so now you're putting a bigger water line onto a smaller water line, and that causes issues with things like pressure drop and water hammering and things that the water department doesn't like. So this amendment is intended to kind of address that particular situation. So we changed that to say, in no instance shall a water main extension exceed the diameter of the existing water main. So you never want to go up in size. So that's step one. And then under the fire protection standards section, it already said water main serving fire hydrants shall be at least 8 inches in diameter. And then we added, when connecting to an existing water main of 8 inches in diameter or greater. So if you're going on a 10, a 12, an 8, then your extension should be an 8 so that it can serve the fire hydrants with an 8-inch water line. B there says that fire hydrants may be served by a 6-inch water main when extension of an existing 6-inch water main is approved by the utilities director. So that gives the director discretion to say, okay, there's a 6 here already. You can extend the 6 to your development and install fire hydrants on the 6. And then C says, in no instance shall a fire hydrant be connected to a water main less than 6 inches in diameter. So if you've got a 4 that's available, then you're going to have to improve it all the way back to wherever the larger one is. You won't have the option of going to a 6 from a 4 and then putting hydrants on it, which the ordinance already required to upgrade, right? In most instances anyway. So that's not really anything different. It's just making sure that it's clear. And then this is the part, the allowable sources. So basically it says that we're talking about B1B here under the water supply for fire protection when not serviced by county water supply system. B said already that the fire department mobile water supply approved by the fire code official is an option for providing your fire protection that's required for development. And we're adding to that mobile water supply shall not be the primary source of fire protection. So that means it can't be the only source, and it also can't be the majority of the fire protection that you're providing. Any questions about that?
How do you quantify the majority?
More than half. More than half.
Okay.
What about on that
Yep.
5A?
Yeah.
Water mains serving fire hydrants shall be at least 8 inches in diameter when connecting to an existing water main of 8 inches. Should that
Or more.
at least 8 inches be, shall be 8 inches instead of at least?
That's a good point. Yeah,
Oh.
at least, right. At least shouldn't be in there. Can it be over?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why if somebody wanted to pay for a bigger water line, I don't think that they ever would, but
But you can never be bigger than the
But
average.
there is a there is a section in the ordinance that talks about, oversizing water lines in preparation for future development. And that can be, in concert with the county in some situations.
Yeah, I think it's giving the option that if the water main is already greater than 8 inches,
Oh, if it's
it's
already
got it, yeah, I
greater
think
than
that's
8
what it,
inches.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
if you're extending a water line,
Oh, 8 inches in diameter
or
or greater.
greater, so if you're on an 8, 10, or 12, those are the typical sizes we have, then you have to put in the 8.
You want it consistent with whatever
It's already there.
water main line you're connecting
Or-
to.
or
You don't want
smaller-
it, you don't want it oversized.
So 8's the minimum, right, for fire
it's 8.
hydrants.
But if it's 10, you
if
could
it's
do-
8, 10, or 12, then 8's the minimum. Or if you wanted to, you could do 10 or 12. But that's not
But
a
if 8
requirement.
It's gotta be smaller than
if
the
it's-
main. The main's always gotta be larger. right?
Smaller or
Yeah.
equal to.
Has to be smaller than the
Right.
one they're connected,
Right.
equal to or smaller than
Right.
the one.
Okay.
Right, because at least means, if you go to AI, at least most commonly means not less than. So it can't be less than, which is what you've got, is it can't be 6. If 8's coming in, you can't put 6, or you're gonna have issues.
It's the other way around.
The other
So
way around,
If you
okay.
have a 6, you can't put an 8 on the end of that.
All right,
Yep. But also, if you already have a 10, 12, or 8, then 8's the minimum.
okay,
So you can't put a 6 on there, on a 10, because they want it to be 8 for fire hydrants.
okay,
They're only making special exception through the approval from the utilities director to use a 6-inch water line where there's an extension of an existing 6-inch water line.
okay,
Because it is adequate to serve a hydrant, but you wouldn't want to go smaller than that.
okay.
This kind of doesn't pertain, but you brought it up. I heard you talk about it. What's the main through the county? Is that a 14 or is it bigger than that?
I think it varies.
Yeah, it's different in different locations, but generally the ones on the highway are 10, 12,
Okay.
14
Just
maybe.
curiosity killed the
Yeah.
cat here while we're going on
There might
that.
be some 16s.
I know it's
don't remember.
non-related here. Does the county have plans that y'all are aware of ever making that larger for the future growth of the county?
Oh,
I don't think upgrading the water main size is any plans currently, but certainly as the county grows. I'm
As I
sure
said,
that
I
will
know
be-
it's not quite as related, but just curious.
There is a MOYOC, I think the MOYOC extension, but I don't have all the details about
No,
it,
you're
so I
fine.
would just,
I was thinking not as related, just, it came up, I just wanted to ask.
any other questions about the text?
Any
Okay.
more questions?
What is the portable one? Is there a definition? Are you getting ready to go do the definition of the portable?
Well, we did that. It's pretty short, the way it's written. The change was minimal. So under the allowable sources part, where it tells you how you can provide fire protection, one of the existing allowable sources in the ordinance is for fire department mobile water supply. And that's where Crawford said, or got certified to haul water to fires. And that was an option that was being taken advantage of by developers in some situations. And the board has asked us to not,
I'm curious.
it's a way to try to get the developer to put in the infrastructure.
Right, right.
And actually have better fire protection.
So what are they using as portable?
Trucks,
Just water trucks?
yeah.
Tank truck.
And-
yeah, in Crawford specifically, it was like an exercise, and there's agreements with adjacent, like neighboring fire departments, so, and they hauled to get certified for hauling, I believe it's 950 gallons.
I'm sure you've seen it before. I know what she's talking about with Crawford, they've got that whole big thing they train it all the time where you got one truck with the big tank and the other one's just nonstop dumping in it and they're pulling from,
But that's all we do out where I live.
that's right.
That's
yeah.
all we got. Everything's portable. So we have to bring it by tanker. I was just curious. I never heard of it on the paved. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I mean, there's also fire ponds and cisterns.
Yeah,
and
we
other-
get dry hydrants and fire ponds if you don't suck up a bunch of fish and get clogged up.
Okay, any more questions for staff? All right, I'm going to open the floor for a motion.
Well, let me finish.
Oh, you're not done. Sorry.
I
I'm
was
rushing
just seeing
you
if we
through,
had
all right?
questions
Been a
about
long
the
night.
actual text amendment itself. Yeah. So I'll just address that, the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan, some of the relevant goals, land use goal 1, to encourage development of current densities appropriate for their location. Infrastructure and county services goal 1, to ensure sufficient provision of services to support associated growth and development and continue to enforce the adequate public facilities ordinance. Infrastructure and county services, goal 2, continue to provide satisfactory public safety, law enforcement, and emergency management and response services. And infrastructure and county services, goal 3, continue to provide satisfactory public water and wastewater service in a fiscally responsible manner that coordinates growth in targeted development areas where infrastructure already exists. These are the review standards for text amendments, and staff recommends approval because it's consistent with the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan and the UDO, including land use goal 1 and the ICS goals 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. All right. Any questions for staff? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to open the floor for a motion.
I'll make the motion. I move to approve the PB 26-08 Currituck County text amendment because the requested text amendment is consistent with the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan and the UDO, including land use goal 1 and ICS goals 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Moving on. Planning Board 2609, Currituck County, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 2, to provide conformance with recent changes in the North Carolina general statutes related to the removal of the waiting period for resubmitting development applications. This time we'll hear from staff.
This amendment is sponsored by the Currituck County Planning and Inspections Department. A little bit of background. Recent legislative updates prohibit local government from imposing waiting periods for the resubmittal or refiling of denied or withdrawn zoning map amendments, text amendments, development applications, or other requests for development approval. Getting to the actual ordinance language, item 1 removes the waiting period for development applications. Continuation of item 1 removes the waiting period for withdrawn development applications. Applications heard through an evidentiary hearing must still reflect substantial changes from a previously denied application. This requirement is based on the principle of res judicata, which prevents the same matter from being re-litigated once a final decision has been made, unless there are meaningful changes to the proposal or circumstances. These are your review standards. Staff recommends approval of this request as it is consistent with the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan and the Unified Development Ordinance, and it brings the ordinance into compliance with the North Carolina general statutes. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Handed down from the state, I guess our hands are kind of tied on what we think about it for the county.
You said this was recent legislation in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was, what's the driver, the state? Yeah.
Recent is a relevant term, and we have already, obviously, a state law, so we've already been, not requiring a waiting period. But this just codifies it as
Yeah.
ordinance.
It's just to codify what you're already doing. Okay. Any questions? right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Gotta be a little more
specific.
I keep forgetting that bit.
You got your cheat sheet.
Sorry. I move to approve PB 26-09, Currituck County Tax Amendment, because the requested tax amendment is consistent with the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan and the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, and it brings the ordinance into compliance with the North Carolina General Statutes.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to the final. Any announcements?
I do not have any announcements.
None? Jason? Cherie? All right, okay. This time I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that
We have a
motion.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
On which
It
one?
was Gary.
Do it.
Tom.
It was quick, wasn't it? Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Gary. Okay, motion passed. Whoops. Knocked